Hi, I'm Trish. I just made a video and then I went to get my phone to review it and it had turned itself off. So if this video doesn't work, I'm sorry, you're not going to get a I came home from hospital video. I can't go through it 3 times. This will be the condensed version, so it's probably going to be better for you because the other one was a bit long. I had my sleeve gastrectomy on Wednesday. The surgery went fine. They fixed the hiatus hernia. They did the sleeve. All of that went well. I ended up being in recovery for a very long time. I think it was at least 4 or 5 hours. And my poor son, my good son, was waiting for me that whole time. I got back to the ward at around about 5 p.m. Wasn't in too much pain, but I was certainly not feeling well enough to get up to go to the toilet. I had an extremely dry mouth, and I kept asking the nurse for there's a special like medicine or something that you can get that you swab around your mouth, and it takes care of the dry mouth like for ages. And I don't think he understood me, and I was probably too dopey from the surgery to be able to explain myself properly, and he just kept on bringing me like big long swabs that had just been dipped in water. But it was better than nothing, and you know, at least he was on the mark with those, bringing those all the time. So I wasn't able to get out of bed to even go to the toilet, and I'm always very, very keen to get out of bed and go to the toilet because I do not like using a bedpan. I am bedpan disabled. I always end up wet in the bed, and then they've got to change the sheets, and so then you're having to roll and all the rest of it. Although I'm much better at rolling after surgeries than I used to be years ago. My back was actually hurting so much in recovery, before I even got back to the ward, I was laying on my sides in recovery. And yeah, it did hurt a little bit to get into position, and it wasn't terribly comfortable, but my back was hurting far more than what my belly was. So I did have to use the bedpan on the Wednesday night, and I was a little bit mortified because I'm very open about everything, just about everything. But I draw the line at tampons. Actually, tampons and poo. That's where I draw my line. Those things are private for me. So he said, I don't mind you using a bedpan and whatever, and so in the end I said to him, look, I've got my period, and I had my period properly, not the on and off that I had for the last 2 weeks. And I said, and I just don't want anyone seeing my tampon. I just don't want you to see my tampon because I've got to change my tampon. And he said, I'm sorry, because it was a male nurse. And he said, I can get you a female nurse if you prefer. And I said to him, it's not about your gender. That's not my issue. My issue is that me as a woman, I don't want anyone, male or female, seeing my tampon. That's my line. So he said, okay, well, I can bring you some paper towels, and you can, I'll help you with the bedpan, but then I'll leave, and you can, do your tampon, wrap it up in the towel, put it in the bedpan, and I won't see it. And I said, okay, that works for me. So, and because I'm not shy, like he bought the bedpan, and I lifted my hips and pulled my undies down. I don't care that he sees all that. That's his job. I know all that's fine. So, but tampons, no. So for the first time I needed to wear, I used the bedpan. But after that, and I was up all night. My poor nurse, because then they changed and there was another nurse in. She just patiently came in every single time I rang that buzzer because I could get to the toilet, but I needed to be assisted because I had a drain, which I was really surprised over because I had keyhole surgery. I woke up with a drain. Plus I had an IV pole I was getting paracetamol, fluids, antiemetics, an endone via an IV. So I had to take all my little friends with me to the toilet, and initially I wasn't able to do that myself. By the next morning I asked the nurse, I said, can you show me how to plug and unplug this, what I have to do, and I can take the pole to the toilet myself. So that was fine. Then I could go completely unassisted. Showered unassisted on the Thursday, that was fine, and was able to get around pretty easily by myself. Wasn't happy with the food in hospital, just way too much sugar, and you will have seen that if you've been following my Facebook page called Faddish. I've been posting lots of photos over there, lots of photos for me, probably not for someone else, but for me I have been, and I will continue to do that. If you wanted to pop over there and have a look, that's where all the photos are. Yeah, just really not happy with the food situation in hospital, and I know that, you know, food in hospital, look, I mean, it's good quality food, but it's just way too high in sugar, and I personally feel that when you're recovering from anything, I mean, if you're in hospital, you're recovering from something, I think nutrition should be key, not sugar, not empty calories. There's much healthier ways to get much healthier calories and nutrition into you. Unless their way of thinking is that sugar is the way to go because it's much easier for your body to just burn through and utilise. I don't know, maybe it just takes your body a lot more energy to utilise proteins and fats and fibres and all those vitamins and things like that. But yeah, I definitely had beef with the sugar content, to the point where on the Friday they bought me my breakfast and I added it up, and there was 45 grams of sugar, which is ridiculous. That's almost twice the daily recommended amount of added sugars that people should be having. So I had a little bit of a meltdown, and I think anyone who's been super morbidly obese, which I'm not at the moment, but I have been, and been through the stress of having any kind of bariatric surgery and then losing lots of weight and educating themselves about nutrition, knows that sugar is just fucking poison in our bodies, and you become very strict with yourself about it, and you need to be healthy and get the weight off and keep the weight off. And I had a total meltdown over the sugar content, and a surgeon had just been in to see me and told me that I was going to be going home that day. I had no one to take me home that day because they'd told me that I was going to be in for at least an extra day. So, you know, I had someone organised to take me home on the Saturday, Sunday or Monday, but not on the Friday. So then, you know, I'm left with no one to take me home. So I was upset about that as well, thinking, how the fuck am I going to get home? So the nurse came past and I was just sitting in bed crying, just, you know, sipping at my tea, just looking at all this other food, because there was yogurt. That's what set me off as well. There was a tub of Yoplait sugar yogurt on the tray, and I thought, I'm not allowed to have yogurt. I'm only allowed, I've spoken to another surgeon here, and you know, they said if you can get it through a straw, you can have it. And I'm looking at the Yoplait yogurt thinking, there's no way I can get that through a straw. Why have they given me yogurt? And then the surgeon says, yes, you can have yogurt. Another surgeon had said, drink no more than 50 mils of fluids per hour. Another surgeon has said, have as much fluids as you like. Another one has said, don't have any calories in any of your fluids. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on here? And then all of a sudden I'm allowed to eat yogurt on fluids. My brain was just completely fried. So I was just sitting in bed, because it was day 3 as well. I had post-op blues, which thankfully this time only lasted for about an hour. Yeah, just sitting in bed crying, sipping at my tea, looking at this yogurt, wondering what the fuck is going on in my world. So she was just wonderful. She immediately got another doctor to come and see me and talk to me and reassure me, and got the dietitian to come around. The dietitian was there within about 10 minutes, and she's just absolutely lovely. I've had a lot of dealings with her, and she's beautiful. So she came around, gave me some you know, meal plans and guidelines, and exactly, you know, what was required of me with this fluid stage, which I really think should happen before you even enter the hospital. You should know exactly, you know, how to deal with it, but at least I got it then. So mine completely put at ease over that. And yes, I can have yogurt. Apparently it's in the same category as jelly and ice cream, although why you would eat ice cream, I don't know. Because when you put the yogurt in your mouth, it melts. So that's why. The only real sort of little hiccup I had was yesterday afternoon when I got up to go to the toilet before I had the drain removed, so I still had the drain in. And by this time, I think I didn't even have, I might have had my drip still, I don't know. But I went to the toilet, and as I sort of, you know, you do that tiny little twist to when you go to wipe, I did that, and something, I had this almighty, really bad sharp pain in my belly, like in the sort of top left. And I thought, shit, that's not good. I think I've torn something, and I thought, maybe I'm like bleeding internally or something, because the pain was really bad. Like I couldn't take a deep breath. It was catching. So I went back to bed, and the nurse came by, or I might have even called her, I can't remember. And she checked me over and gave me some endone and got the doctor to come back around. It sort of felt like a really bad stitch or really bad cramp or something. So the doctor checked me out, and she couldn't find any signs of internal bleeding, because your tummy goes rock hard if you're bleeding internally. She said it all looked fine, and it was most likely from the gas that they pump you full of to do the keyhole surgery. She said sometimes a bubble of that gets it up under your diaphragm, and it really, really hurts. So I think that's probably all that happened. That, or the tubing from the drain, I think, maybe moved and was in a bad spot, because the pain sort of moved around a little bit as I was rubbing it and whatever. But I had some endone, and I laid down straight, rubbed at my tummy, and the pain went away. And a little bit later, the nurse came, removed the drain. No big deal. It was a very long one. It took 2 breaths to get out, so she sort of like pulled, and I breathed. And then she pulled again, and I breathed, and it was out. And I always feel so much better once that drain is out, like 1,000,000% better. So then I was just left with, I have to go home today, and I have no way of getting home, because I hadn't organised for anyone to take me home on that day. And I told them that, and the nurse said, we can reimburse you up to $100 for a taxi home. Now, I live an hour's drive away from the hospital. It's around about 45 kilometres, I think. And I said to the nurse, I haven't gotten a taxi that far in a very long time, but I'm pretty sure $100 isn't going to cover it. And I don't have $100 to fork out and then being reimbursed, and I can't be, even if I did, I can't afford to be out of pocket for what would conceivably take weeks for the hospital to reimburse me, so that's not an option for me. And then, I was talking to another doctor, and it came up that I'm on a pension, so she said, we can probably do something for you because you're on a pension, because they couldn't get me patient transport home like in an ambulance, because I'm not old enough, and I really would not feel comfortable using an ambulance to get me home. And I was definitely ready to go home. There was no issue with that. I wanted to go home, but I had no way of getting home. So they found out I'm on a pension. So then someone came around and they said to me, we can give you a $30 voucher for a taxi to go home. And I'm thinking, I've told you that $100 wouldn't get me home. What makes you think $30 would? And they said, you can get a taxi to the train station and get the train home. Now, to get home driving is about an hour. To get home on public transport, I would have to get to the station, so the Alfred to South Yarra Station, which is it's a decent walk, or a tram to Toorak. Then the train for close on an hour in peak hour, and then I live a good 20-25 minute walk when I haven't had surgery, from the train station to home at the other end. So I'd have to get another taxi at the other end, and it's all the walking in between and everything. Now, keeping in mind, I had a shower yesterday morning, fine, unassisted, didn't feel fainty, was fine to have a shower by myself. But by the time I got out of the shower, I was exhausted, absolutely exhausted, and had to lay down for a nap. And they thought that I could get on a train and, effectively get public transport home over a 2-hour period and be okay. No, I don't know where their brains were. And they weren't like going really hardcore on me, like, you must leave now, but it was made abundantly clear that I had to leave the hospital yesterday, that there was not a bed there for me last night. So I will be having discussions with the hospital about that, and a couple of other things that have happened with other hospital stays, because that was the straw that broke my camel's back. That was completely, utterly unacceptable. Now, obviously, you can see I'm home now. My daughter came to visit me yesterday when all this was going down, and like neither of my kids drive either. I mean, they've got their L plates, but you know that's no help in getting me home. So my daughter was messaging my son about it, and then she's looked up and she's gone, Misha said he's making a call, and we just assumed that he was calling the hospital to say, you know, like, what are you doing with my mother? She can't leave the hospital yet. We're thinking, what does he think he's going to achieve? How does he even know? He doesn't even know who to talk to. What's going to happen here? So then, you know, only like a matter of minutes later, she gets another message back. He messaged one of his mates who had just finished a course out in Mulgrave or something, and his mate's just gone, yep, I'm on it, mate. I'm on my way. Tell your mum I'll be there in 40 minutes. And he was. About 43, 44 minutes, I think it ended up being. But, you know, that was enough time for us to, you know, get all my medications and get my discharge information and, you know, pack up my bag and all that sort of thing and get downstairs and wait for him. We didn't have to wait too long. But even just walking downstairs, I was shaky and, you know, you could feel really well after surgery and be ready to go home, but in no way be able to cope with a 2-hour public transport trip home. Like even being driven home in a car is still exhausting. I was just so exhausted by the time we got home. I went to bed at 8 o'clock. I didn't even eat when we came home. I was too exhausted for anything. I would not have been able to cope with a public transport trip home. Absolutely not. I think it would have been actually quite irresponsible of the hospital to allow me to do that. So yeah, I've come home. I slept from 8 till 3 a.m. last night, straight through. Didn't even move. Just fell asleep on my right side. Woke up on my right side. Rolled over, and I was awake for about an hour. I'm not sure if I was hungry or if I was in a little bit of pain. I'm not sure of the sensations in my tummy, and it does hurt when I drink a little bit, but that's to be expected for the first couple of weeks. But yeah, I fell asleep again by about 4, slept until 8 in the morning again without moving. Got up, had a shower, and this is what I mean about being exhausted. I had a shower and I did that completely unassisted. I was fine, got out of the shower, got dried, sat on the edge of my bed, put my undies on, and then I just sat there and just had to rest for a while because I was done, absolutely done. I'm hoping later today, my daughter's putting a bit of makeup on. We're going to go out to the shops, and when I say we're going to go to the shops, I'm going to sit in Gloria Jean's and have a much longed for skinny latte, which for those playing along at home will count as a meal. And I'll probably only get halfway through it, but that'll be it's a good protein meal because it'll be made with milk. I'll have skinny milk. While she goes to the chemist and gets some sticky wipe things to get all the crap off my skin from all the tapes and everything. Because what happens with nurses, this is what happens with me. You go in and like you've got an IV in your hand or wherever, and the nurse goes, don't like the way that's taped, and they take it all off and they retape it. Then the next nurse comes on duty and they go, don't like the way that's dressed. They take it all off and they put a new one on. So that happens every change of shift. So you end up with so much sticky crap on you. Yeah, and she's got to go and get me some milk. I'm going to have some milk because my tummy's coping with milk okay. So I'm not going to be doing anything. I'm going to be going from the car to Gloria Jean's, drinking coffee. Decaf coffee. And I'm hoping later on to go for a walk on the pier because I live near the beach. And it's only a 500 metre long pier. So a little 1 kilometre walk each day is going to do me the world of good, and it's not strenuous exercise. Because I do that most days, been doing that most days lately. It's very relaxing for me. Other than that, I haven't had any endone since yesterday when I had that pain. I had some Panadol this morning because when I was having my coffee, my tummy started to hurt a bit. So I didn't have much of my coffee. And if you head over to my Facebook page, it's called Fattish on Facebook, you'll see that's where I post all my photos and like daily little its and bits as they happen, rather than, I mean I post the videos there too, but that's where you'll get the photos and the nitty gritties. So I haven't had anything since then. I've made myself some, with the help of my daughter, some plain Greek yogurt which doesn't have sugar in it. It's got fat in it, but fat's good for you, and some pureed prunes. Now, prunes are very high in sugar, but it's just fucking fruit. It's just fruit. It's not like I've put prunes in there and then gone hell for leather with the sugar, which is effectively what I was having served up to me in the hospital. Prunes have also got lots of fibre. They were actually very proactive in the hospital with the lactulose. I had that from day one. So everyone in the bariatric community will be very, very happy to know that I pooped this morning on day 4, which is a day earlier than what I would normally after surgery. So I still had my lactulose this morning, just in case it was just a freak incident this morning. But as soon as I establish that I am going to be pooping my normal daily or second daily pooping, whatever my body wants to do, I'll stop taking the lactulose. Yeah, so I had Panadol before I went to bed last night just to make sure that I would sleep well, and I did. And I had some Panadol this morning, and that was enough to just get rid of that little bit of pain. And I'm really good to go. I feel pretty good. I feel good. And it's just going to be a matter of getting used to this new way of eating, drinking for the first 2 weeks. And I'm excited. I do weigh-ins over on my Facebook page as well. When I was doing the keto pre-op diet, I was posting my weigh-in every day. I'm not going to do that every day. I'll be doing it once a week. So the next weigh-in is due next Tuesday. If you want to pop over it next Tuesday morning and see what I weigh. So that's it for now. I'll update. I'm going to make a video just about the fluids diet. But apart from that, I'm really good, and I appreciate everyone's support, all the comments and everything. It really, particularly over on my Facebook page. I really appreciate all the love.